Hello and welcome to UNA Forum Presents, this time the 16th United Nations Association Film Festival, which will be held in Palo Alto, East Palo Alto, San Francisco, and Stanford University from October 17th to the 27th. We're extremely happy that our jury selected from more than 600 documentaries, 70 documentaries, which we are sure will change your view of the world. And we're extremely happy to have in our studio 4 filmmakers. They're going to present their films and intrigue you to come and see some of these wonderful documentaries. So we have Roger, Maren, Jane, and Cary talking about their films. And we're going first to start with Roger to tell us a little bit about his film, Flying Paper.
Sure. Thank you, Jasmina. I'm Roger Helm, the co-director of Flying Paper. And Flying Paper is the uplifting story of resilient Palestinian youth in the Gaza Strip, setting out to set the Guinness World Record for the most kites ever flown at once. So it's a very unique story that's centered around the achievement of these children and a celebration of their creativity in this long cultural history of kite making and kite flying in Gaza and elsewhere in Palestine. So we're really excited to have it screen on October 18th on Friday. And you know, it's a wonderful film. It's family friendly. There's very unique elements to it, and just a very you know, different story than what I think people usually see coming out of a place such as Gaza.
Mm-hmm. Flying Paper is part of our UNAFF and Kids program. This is one of the programs that we are presenting in our 16th United Nations Association Film Festival. So let's see the clip from Flying Paper.
جزء في الطبق بتمثل هما مش جزئين. الجزء الأول بتمثل في يعني الشغل، ثاني شيء إنه يكون الميزان دقة معمول. إسرائيلية دبابة للحدود.
أنا بحكي إنه لما نطير طبعا بنحس حنا إنه إحنا اللي طايرين في السماء، بنحس حنا إنه إحنا ماخذين حريتنا، فيش حصار هيك على غزة، نطير الطابع، فبنحس إنه بنعرف إنه في إحنا عنا حرية.
We just saw the clip from the film Flying Paper, which will be screened at the 16th United Nations Association Film Festival. The theme this year is individual to universal, and this film, Roger, really speaks to this theme, as all other films that we are going to screen and talk about today. So Roger, working with kids in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict was a challenge. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we were very fortunate. A co-director, Nitin, he's one of the co-founders of a program called Voices Beyond Walls, which is a youth media training program. And Nitin and myself were in Gaza in the summer of 2010 when we shot the majority of the film. And I was working as a trainer, and Nitin as well. And So we got to know a good sample of the youth from the program. The youth in the program live in the Jabalia refugee camp, which is the referred to as the most densely populated place on the planet. So these kids deal with a lot of, very severe issues in their life, whether it's poverty or lack of opportunities, as it relates to the siege that Gaza is under. It's very hard for Palestinians to travel in and out. It's very stagnating on the economy. So the children have to grow up fast and deal with a lot of this stuff. But for us, it was a great experience because these kids were so eager to learn and really just through their effort and their enthusiasm behind what we were doing. And so the youth in those programs, they each formed into groups, and we worked with them writing and shooting and editing their own little short films. And then about 10 of them joined the production team and helped us actually shoot at the Kite Festival, which is where the Guinness record attempt happened. And it's just been amazing. The stars of the film in front of the camera and behind the camera really, made it their story, and the adults just kind of stayed out of their way and let them do their thing. And so it really is the kids' story.
Thank you, Roger. The stars of the film, The Revolutionary Optimists, are also kids. And Maren, welcome to the studio. And obviously this film gives the perspective of another part of the world, India. So tell us a little bit about the kids that are now not alone, but they are with us, and they're going to be with the audience as well. If nothing else is present, they're going to be with us on the screen.
Yeah, let's see. So Nicole Newnham and I co-directed and produced the film, and the kids really are amazing. We worked with, Amlan Ganguly is a man who works with these children in the slums of Calcutta, and he uses puppetry and dance and theater to really inspire them to become change agents, and he's able to help them really change their aspiration level of what they hope to do in their communities. And what I think so incredible is that instead of trying to rescue a few kids and get them out of the slum, he tries to help them change their view of the world and change their surroundings, because he knows that they'll live there their whole life. But they have been able to make so many big changes in these communities. They've accomplished more than so many people I know. So they've been able to get rid of garbage dumps and turn them into soccer fields. We filmed them over 3.5 years as they struggled to get clean water for their community. And they've been able to double polio immunization rates in the community. They've done huge amounts of things.
So let's see the clip from The Revolutionary Optimists.
আজ মা পাড়ার ম্যাপ করছি। পাড়ার কোনো ম্যাপ নেই। মা বলছে তুই জানিস ম্যাপ নেই? সব জায়গার থেকে তোরও পাড়া আছে। আমি বলছি না দেখো মা। তুমি এখানে কি দেখেছো? মানে এমন কোন সমস্যা বারবার তুমি ফেস করেছো এটা? কলের সমস্যা তো রয়েছে, কিন্তু কেন রয়েছে? কেন জল আসছে না? তোমার কি মনে হয়? হাস কর কি কর? এত ঘরে রেখে তুই আমার জিনিস ভেঙে দিস, তোকে ছেড়ে দিতাম বাইরে ঠিক ছিল, তোকে ছেলে হলেই ভালো হতো। আমি আর শিখা আসলাম। শিখা আর আমার পার্টনারশিপ খুবই ভালো। আমি আরও সব জায়গায় একসাথে কাজ করি। সেলিমের ভূমিকা এখানে যে খুব ভালো, দায়িত্ব নিতে পারে, কিন্তু একটু ফাঁকিবাজ আছে। ও ফাঁকি দিয়ে কাজ করতে খুব ভালোবাসে।
तो थोड़ा तकलीफ नहीं हो रहा था। अभी मम्मी काम नहीं कर रहा था, अभी तकलीफ है, इसलिए नहीं जाने सकते।
The children face a lot of obstacles from people that they were born in this, they will die in this. তোমার ছেলে মেয়ে যদি জিজ্ঞেস করে তোমাকে বাবা তুমি কেন মাধ্যমিক পাস করোনি, তুমি কি জবাব দেবে? I'm not showing them a dream world. I'm just saying that if you are focused, you can have your way.
আমার প্রথম দেখা বৃষ্টির জলে।
আমি একজন মেয়ে হয়ে আমার কাছে যেটাই এসে যে আমি যেখানে গেছি আমাকে বারবার বলা যায় যে সব কিছু ভাগ্যের ওপর আমার। যদি আমি ভালো কাজ করি তাহলে সেটাই আমার ভালো ভাগ্য, যদি খারাপ কাজ করি খারাপ। তো সেইখানে ভাগ্যকে ভুলে গিয়ে নিজে মানে যতটা পারি চেষ্টা করতেই হবে।
We just saw the clip, actually the trailer from the film, The Revolutionary Optimists, which will be screened 2 times. It's kind of an exception, but we never had this before. But this time, because we would love to present this film in East Palo Alto, and also the film is going to be part of our panel, Extreme Acts of Compassion. So, Maureen, about making a trust between you as a filmmaker and kids, tell us a little bit about the process, how the kids really started being comfortable with the camera.
That was actually a big part of making the film, was developing that trust with the kids and the community and Amlan. Amlan Ganguly has worked in this community for 14 years, so I think that we would never have been able to do it if he didn't have the deep bond of trust with the community. But then when we first started, he wouldn't let us, well, let's see, the film Slumdog Millionaire had just come out when we first started filming, and they were very skittish about any sort of filmmakers there or what our motives were, and they were very concerned that we were going to really exploit the poverty, and it took a long time to actually develop them to be able to understand that we were really trying to film the work that the kids were doing. So when we started, they would only let us film in that one small little community clubhouse room, and it took about a year before they even let us film out on the street and in people's homes. One of the big things that really made a difference was we worked with 2 really wonderful Bengali camera people, and one of them, Ranu Ghosh and Ranjan Palit. And Ranu did a community workshop for the kids in photography. And when she did, the kids just were electrified. They really loved it, and they actually, Shika has gone on to want to become a filmmaker, and they've all gone on to make several really quite remarkable films. And a lot of that was Ranu's work with them. Mm-hmm. And then once we did that, the community really saw that we were trying to do something for them as well, and that made a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Jen, in your film is obviously very important to make this trust. It's an issue about health, and it's also about compassion, and trying to build this trust between you and your subject, and just open her to talk about a very difficult issue. Tell us a little bit about the process.
Well, my film,
Please.
Perfect Strangers, is about an altruistic kidney donor, and for me, casting is really an essential part of documentary. I know it seems a bit like an oxymoron of casting a documentary, but my films always start with people. They don't start with ideas. And so that film started with my subject, Ellie Edwards. I came to meet her and found out that she was getting ready or thinking about becoming an altruistic kidney donor. I mean, not giving to a family member or friend, but really just deciding that, as she says, she has a spare kidney. And she was actively looking for someone in need of a kidney, of which there are 98,000 people in this country sitting on a wait list waiting for a kidney. And I heard about her story, and the first thing I did was go to meet her. And I met her in the town where she lived, 4 hours away from here, and we spent an afternoon together at a cafe. And by the end of that conversation, I thought, I want to make a film about this woman. And the story got stalled. I mean, the film actually, I met her in 2007. I started filming in 2008 and completed filming in 2011 and just released the film last summer, in this past summer, a few months ago. And the story really got stalled because it's easier said than done to become an altruistic kidney donor. And I don't want to give away the plot, but there was a reason I talk about being held hostage by the narrative, you know, as a documentary filmmaker, which had never happened before. But, you know, people would say to me, well, why don't you just find someone else who's getting ready to donate a kidney?
I remember that. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it was
exactly,
like,
yeah.
no, because my film is about her. And I really felt motivated by her as a really credible character. It was very important to me that the viewer be able to identify, not be able to marginalize her or write her off and say, well, I understand why she's doing that because she's motivated by X, Y, or Z, which has no relationship to me and my life. In fact, she was just motivated by wanting to do good in the world. And she's mentally stable, and she's not motivated by religion or a family history of kidney disease. And so I really felt that that was really important, that the protagonist of the film is someone that would make the viewer squirm and say, ooh, is this something I could do? And if not, why not?
Let's see the clip from Perfect Strangers.
It is 3:05 on the Central Coast, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Hometown Radio. Eldana Edwards is here. She donated one of her organs to someone that she didn't know.
People are often surprised when I tell them what I'm doing. They don't understand why you would give one of your organs while you're alive to a relative stranger.
A couple people I've mentioned. Where are you going? San Francisco. Why are you going there? Well, there's this pink lady who is going to donate a kidney. Really? To a family member? No. To whom? She doesn't know.
I've had a lot of friends that have tried to donate to me. I've gone through it enough times now to know the likelihood is that they're not going to be a match.
I want to be a spinner.
Oh, what?
When the transplant coordinator contacted me and said, what if we put you into a truly altruistic program where you don't know who's gonna get your kidney? My first thought was, what if this goes to somebody who's like totally the opposite of me?
You can change your mind right up to the time before they put you out. And they're like, no guilt.
Any operation that we do, I have to just disclose all the risks. So the ultimate risk of any operation is the possibility of death.
It's kind of crazy. Like, say if something goes wrong with her remaining kidney, now she's out of spares.
Look.
What is that?
That's a ghost.
Right now you're stuck in a holding pattern. You really can't plan for whatever happens to Cathy and her kidneys.
My goal is to preserve my health so that I can be with my family as much as possible. I kind of like to go 6 more years just to give Rowan time to remember.
Dear friend, I decided to write you because if it were me, I would want to know a little about the person who raised my kidney on the first leg of its journey.
We just saw the clip, the trailer, actually, from the film Perfect Strangers. We were talking about building trust, Jen, but obviously the most interesting part when the subject is seeing the film for the first time. Can you tell us what was her reaction about?
Well, actually, as a filmmaker, I really like for the subject to see the film for the first time with me. Certainly not with an audience. I think that's really disrespectful. So I really wanted that to happen, but she was begging me, and so at Christmas I sent her a DVD, even though it wasn't quite finished, sort of as a Christmas gift. Both Cathy and Ellie, both characters you see in the film, and she, I think she was very moved by it. And the interesting thing about being a documentary subject is you don't really know what is on the film, right? And because the shooting was over such a protracted period, she didn't even remember half the things we filmed, and plus, for part of it, she wasn't even really conscious because we did get into the hospital, and she was so engaged in what was going on in her life that the last thing that she was really thinking about was the filmmaking and the fact that a film was being made. And so I think there was a lot of revelation there, but fortunately, there was nothing she felt uncomfortable with. I mean, she didn't have editorial control. She hadn't seen a stitch of it. She never said to me along the way, please don't film this or that. I think we both went into it from this position of trust where she basically gave me her story, and I showed her other films I had made. I think that's really, you know, part of the
Important,
contract,
right.
that she knew what I was about in terms of my filmmaking, and, you know, based on that, we went into it together, and she loves the movie, which is
Wonderful.
great and very gratifying. But and she has sat with it once with me and an audience, and we did a Q&A together, and I think it was a very moving experience for her to, you know, see herself on screen in a public venue like that.
Wonderful. So we're looking forward to see her and obviously see with the audience and her reaction as well. So Cary, in your case, there are 6 people actually, and traveling to Pakistan and working with the Pakistani filmmakers in the film Without Shepherds, which is going to be screened in our film festival. So collaboration with the Pakistani filmmakers, tell us a little bit about that, because obviously working with them through the idea, working in a different culture.
You know, I think we all wanted to tell a different story. I think we were all kind of exhausted by the way American media represented countries that were deeply involved in the war on terror. I had been a human rights advocate for a number of years and worked in media myself, and even in a very altruistic space. I was tired of a very Western-focused, very issue-driven way of organizing other people's lives around the things that we kind of cared about, the issues we thought were meaningful or the ideas that we thought mattered, having no real-time experience of those countries. So when I was working in Pakistan, my eyes became very quickly open to a whole side of the country that we never see, which is very thoughtful, very sophisticated, very literate, very moving, and very driven by a kind of Islam that doesn't necessarily feed anything violent at all. It feeds their whole culture. So there was a big part of us that wandered the country. We took a huge number of road trips with our collaborators. There were 5 or 6 guys that were a big part of the film, and then a number of journalists, and then a number of editors along the way. But we all took a number of road trips together to find our subjects. And the 6 people, we think represent 6 very different ways of looking at a country that's in the middle of a very deep crisis, but that has solutions from within that we don't need to impose from within.
So let's see the clip from the film Without Shepherds.
जब मैं जेल में था तो मुझे ये पहली दफा इंकशाफ हुआ कि कम अज कम जेल में जो 50% कैदी हैं वो बेकसूर हैं। उनका कसूर सिर्फ ये है कि वो गरीब लोग हैं। तो सिर्फ बेचारे लोग जो मजबूरी से चोरी करते हैं, जिनके घर में आटा नहीं, जो बच्चे बीमार हैं, इलाज के लिए पैसा नहीं, वो तो जेलों में आपको मिलते हैं। और वो लोग जो इस मुल्क के बड़े बड़े डाकू और कातिल हैं, वो आपको वजीर बन जाते हैं, वो आपको असेंबलियों में मिलते हैं, वो गवर्नर बन जाते हैं। पाकिस्तान की हुकूमत को, लीडर्स को मैं एक अवाम की तरफ से पैगाम देना चाहता हूँ। पाकिस्तान के अंदर एक इनकलाब आ रहा है, जो भी इस इनकलाब के सामने खड़ा होगा वो बह जाएगा।
So we just saw this clip from the film Without Shepherds, which is going to be screened in our 16th United Nations Association Film Festival. Cary, this film was screened also in Pakistan, or?
It's not yet, but we're planning to do it. We have plans to team up with an NGO there and do some rural screenings. And we also are working with the channel there to do a theatrical screening and then a release there. But our release is going to be commercially in some theaters in the U.S., then digitally in the U.S., digitally international. That'll all begin in the fall and the winter next year.
So quickly, obviously, we, as Cary said, this is going to be released. How about, Jen, your film? Is it going to be released after this film festival? Distributor, are you going to distribute the film by yourself?
It's too soon to know. I mean, the film was just finished. I'm just starting in the really early stages of festival distribution. And I have a grant for outreach and engagement to do community-based screenings and, you know, possible broadcast. But ask me in a year.
Maren?
We're in the process of finding a distributor as well, but it was picked to be part of Women and Girls Lead Global, so it's going to broadcast in 9 countries around the world and translate into 5 languages, so that's pretty exciting.
Wonderful. Roger?
Yeah, we've also recently finished translating the film into 4 different languages, and a distributor actually contacted us recently who saw the description of the film in the UNAFF lineup.
Oh,
so
thank you.
We'll see what happens with that, you know, but we're hoping that this will be, you know, part of our launch to take the film to a wide international audience.
Thank you so much for being with us, and we are really looking forward to see you at the festival. Also, for anybody interested in these documentaries and the documentaries that we are going to have for our 16th United Nations Association Film Festival, please find this brochure and also visit the website UNAFF.org, and we are going to have also our tickets and program, everything available on the website. So thank you so much again for being our guest in the studio, and we'll see you at the festival. Thank you.